Good evening and welcome to the Lessons Learned by Lisa. Tonight we have an incredible young lady that's going to be sharing some intimate details of her life on a topic that most of us take for granted that it doesn't happen in the USA. We've heard about it in places like Africa and Europe, but never do we think that it hits the domestic land. So tonight, without further ado, because we want to take as much time to hear her story, I want to introduce to you Vicky. And Vicky is going to share her experience about human trafficking. Thank you, Vicky. Welcome to the show. How you doing today, girlfriend?
I am doing good. Thank you for that awesome intro. 15 years later, I want to tell my story, and it's like it was yesterday. Just even being able to have told my story so far with the podcast that I have, it's been so empowering to get the feedback that I have had, and like the voices that I'm reaching, really my voice reaching others to be able to use their voice and empower themselves as well, which was my ultimate goal, through just working with survivors here in Hawaii, and getting a chance for them to know that they also empowered me to tell my story. So,
well, that's wonderful. So, without any further ado, we want to take you back 15 years from now, and you were probably about 23 years old, freshly out of college, at the banging body.
So
the risk,
right?
Thought that you were, indestructible, and what happens? Tell the story.
I am 23 in Miami at that, feeling myself, okay? And I was in my stage of, undergraduate school, out the door, out the window, completed. What do I do now? I had my full-time job. I had my 9-to-5 job. But who at 23, 24 in Miami wants to just go straight into working 9-to-5 and, this adult life that they say? And at the time, I was living with my auntie and uncle, and they were offering me, the time that I needed to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. So, meeting friends, hanging out. They have an awesome, scene, beach scene, nightlife scene, everything. I started to get familiar with a lot of the castings available in Miami. A lot of people were starting the whole new type of reality shows that took off with from Bachelor to just kind of, American Idol, all of these new shows. And I had the, young mind of being personable and social, and I'm like, I could do this. And I actually met someone who was casting for a particular show, and she was just like, I want to hire you. Can you do this? And I'm like, oh yeah, I definitely can. And she was working with a major LA network, so I was just like, this is legit. I can do this. And it was the first experience that I had that was amazing. I casted the right people. I got paid quick, and I was just like, she just referred me. So, and then this is also the time of MySpace. So this is before Facebook and all that stuff. So I'm creating my MySpace page and showing the successes that I've had with casting. Also, I'm still working in my field of psychology, and in my field of psychology, I also was working and getting into research. So I essentially was looking for research participants as well. So my job entailed me recruiting and looking for people and knowing how to really
find the right
person. Yeah.
Whatever the description was, you were able to.
I was great at my job. So with MySpace, just like Facebook, you're able to get contacts and, reach out to people and whatnot. And I was reached out to from a friend or an associate, a male associate from the university that I graduated from, at HBCU.
Okay.
So
but at the time, though, you thought of him as a friend.
At the time, he was a friend. I mean, we had relations. So for all the young girls out there, you gotta know who these people are that you're dealing with. Point blank, period. And we can get into that later. But essentially, he was an old friend. And we can call him that. An old friend that, he had a really good reputation in college that I knew of him. He was a really good basketball player, whatever. So he's
that star athlete is what got your attention.
The athlete. Like I didn't have
Not
enough.
that all athletes are bad, so let's not
Right.
put it out there.
No. But like I have enough going on already in Miami. Like I had great people in Miami. Like I just, so I'm just like, okay. He says that he's been working on with some boxers and the boxing managers, and they were looking for ring girls. That's all I really remember, because all I knew was the dollar sign. Like how much we talking here, I'm gonna tell you my daily rate and see if you can, provide that. And I'm like, it's $1,000 a day. I don't know who you're looking for, but etc. So he's like, oh yeah, I could do that. This is what, back in 2005.
Okay.
2006. He's like, oh yeah, I could do that. I'll get in touch with these individuals that are looking for the girls. And it was for ring girls. Okay. So ring girls, everybody knows, they're just coming in like a swimsuit. And I've done casting for fashion shows, and I've casted models in swimwear. And I was like, yeah, that's not bad at all. I mean, you're in Philly, you're in the city. I can do that. You just find me the location. Craigslist was very reputable then. So there were legit jobs that people didn't have to feel, like it's scared, like the Craigslist killer, came out way later in the years. But at this time, it was a good site. And being that I had all my ducks lined in a row, like there, check, I did my part, venue secured, location of like where we're going to hold the casting in the venue secured. Like I already put the descriptions out in the casting on Craigslist secured. So, part of the booking me is like ticket for the flight, hotel stay overnight, but I want to be gone the next day. So he knew all of these things. Those are the things that I'm familiar with because of the casting I was doing in Miami. I didn't really think about everything else, especially he was an old associate.
Okay. So let's dive forward. You get on a plane and you come to Philadelphia to put on this recruitment, casting, whatever, and he meets you at the airport?
No, he doesn't meet me at the airport. I am bamboozled at the airport. I'm not, okay. Going to getting at the airport and thinking like, okay, I'm just going to call him up. I wasn't feeling myself enough to expect a car service, but I'm expecting him to pick me up. He was the one who arranged all of this, and I could have easily got a taxi cab right to the said location where I'm supposed to have, but I'm confirming, that I'm here. And he also told me to call him once I was arrived at the airport. So I'm at the airport. It's been about 20 minutes, get my bag, whatever. And I'm waiting and I'm like calling him, not picking up, texting, no reply. This is a simple, basic phone. It's not like it has all the, things.
Bells and whistles like what we have now.
Yeah, no. So so there were taxi cabs also for all the young kids. Like, yes, you do have to go in a cab at the airport, he calls and he says, oh, I'm sorry, I'm running a little late, or, I'm at the location trying to secure stuff. There were some changes, last minute changes made, but I need you to go here instead. And that was it. Hung up. No, what does instead mean? No, you're not picking up my phone. You're not doing anything. And these are not an actual hotel name. It's locations. It's like 4th and Broad or whatever. And I wave up to the cab. I'm like, hey, mister, can you take me here? He's like, oh, yeah, it's a hotels over there. There's a lot of hotels over there. And I was like, okay, thinking that's pretty safe, I guess. And I told her, how long? About 20, 25 minutes. And I'm like, the last time I checked, we secured a venue near the airport just so that I could be in and out kind of thing. I knew that it was a round trip ticket. I knew I was leaving out tomorrow, and it's already nighttime by now. So it's a solid 24 hours. I'm here to do my job and then leave. And then I get in the car and I'm like, okay, paying attention to all the landmarks, because I still do that. I always done that. And I'm like, okay, we're passing all the major, like, McDonald's, all the major places. And then we're starting to pull up to an area where I'm just like, oh, it looks like a hotel, a strip of hotels.
Okay.
It's definitely not the one that we signed up for, where the venue was going to take, the casting actually was going to be held. And the taxi cab, I remember, it's like a roundabout, and he pulls up and there's like 3 guys that start walking towards the cab. And I'm still trying to acclimate to everything. I'm like, hotel, different. Who's paying a taxi cab? Because I'm not responsible for that. I shouldn't be, blah, blah, blah. 3 guys come out. 2 look like some security guys, and I'm not gonna lie, they were African American. I'm like, maybe one's a boxer. Maybe the boxer is actually staying here to be low key. I mean, it wasn't a rinky dink, and it definitely was not a motel.
Okay.
And when I get out the car, they're like, yeah, okay. And, you know, I could already feel the eyes checking me out. It was nothing that was professional as soon as I opened that door. It just didn't ring professional. No one greeted me with any kind of professionalism. No one, you know, said anything as like a respectful kind of way. Like, hi, ma'am, are you here with so-and-so? Or so-and-so told you to come here? None of that. They straight paid the taxi cab. One grabbed my bag, and the third one, they were all walking behind me, and the third one says, oh, yeah, she is fine. And I could just feel eyes on the back of me, like cringing, because it's not a good, oh, yeah, she is fine.
So let's take a step back.
Okay.
So you get out of the
getting
cab.
in that.
You get out of a cab, and there's 3 guys there. One takes your bag, one pays the cab, and then the other standing there, I guess, just watching what all is being transpired. And you have already equated that it's not professional. But what did you say?
I didn't say anything. I actually froze. And I'm more trying to pay attention to the whereabouts and like where I'm at. And I remember before walking into the hotel, because it wasn't a really long walk, I remember looking again where I'm at. So I saw like very familiar places to me, like a Wawa, and I saw like another sister hotel like very close by. And then I remember seeing a police station, but it was closed. So I'm just like, what area is this? Maybe it's safe, maybe. But I just like shrugged off that comment, because I just was like, all right, maybe, you know, he talked me up, or maybe he showed them my MySpace page. I mean, nothing to me was anything but more than flattering, except for it was like creepy times flattering.
Okay.
And
so you walk into the hotel.
I walk into the hotel
guys.
with the 3 guys, and I looked to my left, and it was like a pool hall, like a pool room. And I remember seeing like 3 more guys, and they were all sitting down, and each of them had a female next to them.
Okay.
And each of the females were like dressed in like they were going to go out, like to the club or whatnot.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, maybe we're all going out. Maybe this is what he was talking about. Maybe my associate was like, yes, I'll go. Let's just hang out. I'm like, that's awesome, even though I know that I'm here just for a job, red eye, whatever. But it's Philly. Who doesn't want to go party out in Philly? I do want to note that none of these guys were attractive, because I would have been my 23-year-old self, like, yes, I can't wait to go out. We're going to have some fun. And the ladies weren't really up to par. And I'm going to say that with the best, like, non-discriminatory approach, because they were dressed like they were going out, but they didn't match like the hair, the makeup, and what I'm used to seeing, obviously, in Miami, and what everyone sees now.
Okay.
So I don't even have to go to the front desk. I don't even check in. I go up there, and it's a young girl behind the counter. She already looks like, you know, nonchalant in a way, and she just passes me my key. And I'm just like, okay, so she must know it's me. So they were expecting me. At least that changes my aspect of thinking it was professional. You got all that lined up. That's totally fine. But these 3 dudes are still behind me, like just not saying anything to me. So I'm like, you know, looking back, and I'm like, so y'all gonna come to, I didn't say it, because now I'm scared.
Okay.
Now I'm scared, because even though I'm supposed to go out with y'all, maybe in my head, I'm not 100% sure. And they're still not my friend, who I thought was my friend.
You're still not having a conversation with them. They're just walking with you.
Just walking. So we're walking to the room, and I still feel like they're behind me, like saying things to each other. I don't know. And I go to the room, I open the door, and there's 2 girls in there. There's an Asian girl and an African American girl. So I'm like, this is my room. So I'm like checking my key, and then I'm like shoveled in.
Okay.
I wasn't pushed, but I was like kind of like shoved in. And the one main guy, who didn't look like the security guys, I to this day, Mama, I can't find his face. I just know he was a little like brown skin, and the other guys were a little darker skinned. And he came in there, closed the door, and basically said, they're going to help you. You're going to do what you're supposed to do tonight, and we're leaving for Vegas in the morning.
Okay.
Just like that. Just like that. And vividly, I'm like remembering, like right now I'm remembering freezing, because I couldn't even soak up what he just said. All I heard was Vegas tomorrow. I forgot that there's girls here, and I forgot that there's 2 security guards outside, and he's sitting here talking, and I have no bags or nothing.
Okay.
So I'm just like, we're leaving for Vegas tomorrow. I kept saying in my head, we're Vegas tomorrow. And then he just leaves. He just leaves. And the 2 girls start to approach me, and they're like, I guess each one grabbed my arm, because I'm still in frozen mode, and they just kind of sit me on the bed, and they're like, please don't try to get away. We're going to teach you what to do tonight, and then we'll be fine in the morning. And
you're looking at them like, teach me what? Like,
yeah, I'm, and then let me give you a description of the 2 females. So the black girl, and she looked like she had like a very old prom dress on that was like a short tube top kind of prom dress that didn't fit her very well. She's very thin, not attractive in any way. And I'm like, you're not dressed appropriate. Like, even if I was casting you tomorrow, even if you wanted the gig, you're not fitting the mold of even a ring girl. And then the Asian girl was quite chubby, long hair. She had a white dress on that was kind of the same tube top, very kind of short. They had on like sparkly shoes. Like we would say back in the day that they would look like hookers.
Okay.
They look like street girls.
Unbeknownst to you, that's really what they were.
Unbeknownst to me, that's what they were. And I was about to go to work tonight.
Okay.
I remember in the room, they immediately started to crush something and then start snorting it. And I didn't do drugs at that time. Of anyone trying out marijuana might have been the only thing, but I never did hardcore drugs like that. So I don't even know what they're doing. They're crushing perks, or they're crushing something for, like cocaine or whatever. All I know was an upper, because they had to stay up. They basically were like, we are going to stay up, and we're going to, you're not going to come back, and we're not going to leave until you're ready.
Okay.
And I was dressed in like a regular shirt, like off the airport, regular shirt and jeans. And then, when they're telling me they're going to teach me, they're like, oh yeah, you need to change because you're going to learn how to walk the streets tonight.
Okay.
So this sounds like, walk the streets of Philadelphia. I don't even know what that means, but mind you, they had clothes for me. That MySpace shit, excuse my language, because I'm in the moment right now. I'm in my feelings, because he pretty much got the description of me from MySpace, because
so you had all the details on you, from your size to what you like to wear, what's becoming on you.
What's trending, literally. I don't know about these 2 girls, but I felt like I was matching with what was expected of me. I don't feel like I was going to go walk the streets now, but I felt like I was going to go out. Okay. I was going to be someone's top dollar something, somebody's arm candy. Okay. That's, so I at this point I'm frozen. I was in a place where when I did my castings, I always know when the girls are timid and they feel like, as me being a female, it's really great that I'm a casting director or producer or associate and assistant when there's in a male dominated field. Even designers, it's a male dominated field. So I felt like it was a mirror image of myself when I see girls come in and they're very timid and they're just ready to do whatever it is that you say, because you're going to ease them into it. You're going to make them comfortable. And I'm super vulnerable at this moment. So I'm literally about to do anything that they say. Okay. Because now I'm in survival mode.
Okay.
So now I'm thinking in my head, there's the 2 security guards. There's the one guy who we will now call a trafficker, because that's what he was. and then the two girls. So I changed, essentially. I changed, and they're like, you know, all whatever, they're coked up or whatever, and they're like, you ready to go? We're gonna go out there and we're gonna teach you how to do it. Just whatever you do, don't make daddy mad. And you know, you're lucky that you're doing this. So what I learned through the years is that, one, the daddy is the trafficker, the pimp. And what I also learned is that most of the time you get broken in.
And what does broken in mean?
Broken in is you get assaulted, you get raped. And they want you to break you down physically, emotionally, spiritually. They want your worth diminished. And they want you to be able to handle if other buyers or Johns or perpetrators will do the same thing to you, and you'll be able to bounce back 100%.
Because after all, you're the moneymaker.
I'm the moneymaker.
Okay.
And so when we're leaving the hotel, we're walking down together, and it's almost like I'm fitting their sisterhood.
Okay.
That's what I'm gonna say. It wasn't like I had already been vulnerable enough to be like, I'm gonna listen to anything you say. I had to be under their wings in a sense.
Okay.
And
so your psychology kicked in.
My psychology kicked in, and I'm like, they're gonna have to save me, and they're gonna have to protect me. Because if I'm in a place where I can walk freely to the streets to test, to learn, then something about them is like, okay, we could trust this girl. She ain't gonna do nothing. And if she did, she must have seen all them 5 big black guys that's ready to do something if she don't listen. Plus, there was the other girls. I'm not gonna get beat up by either of them. I'm not gonna get beat up by the girls, get jumped. I don't want to definitely get raped or assaulted and taught a lesson. Essentially, these are all the things that can happen to any victim the first night.
Okay.
So we're walking, I'm walking past that damn closed police station, the irony on that. And I start praying. I'm like, Lord God, I got to get out of this some kind of way. I don't know which is the best way, but show me any kind of signs. Tell me. And in my body and my spirit, I'm like, Victoria, you can get out of this. You can get out of this. Just pay attention to the little things. So we're walking, and they start talking. Like, they're just real friendly.
Okay.
And it's like, one, I'm in my head like, y'all did this before, right? Number 2, how long y'all been in here, right? So essentially, I'm like, start asking them questions. Get to know them before they get to know you.
Okay.
So, because they have already been told about me. They've been told about me from the guy or even the trafficker of what expectations. So I'm like, you know, how long do we have to be here tonight? Like, how long, why Vegas in the morning? Like, why are y'all here? And, you know, the Asian girl who later identifies as the bottom bitch, excuse my language again, this is not an easy topic. And there's, you know, so the bottom bitch is actually identified as basically the wifey of the daddy. This is the person who is responsible for the girls. Any girl, new, old, she's responsible for the children of any girls. She's the only one who can have the luxuries of what a typical relationship would be. Like, she would be the girlfriend and the wife. She would be the one who gets the items and the gifts. She's the one who's allowed to have a baby by this person. And her and this guy, the trafficker, their love and their bond is supposed to be the best, the highest.
Unbreakable.
Unbreakable.
Okay.
She ain't going nowhere. So she's been in there for 10 years. She's been with him for 10 years. Started, you know, like she said, very a younger age. And then the black girl was basically in for about 5 to 7 years. I don't remember which one, but I immediately was like, well, am I gonna like be the one so you guys don't have to work anymore? You know? And they just like got this emotional feeling over them or something. And they were like, yeah, we want to, like, the black girl was like, yeah, I want to go to nursing school. He told me that he would pay for my nursing school. Like, I'm tired. The Asian girl, she's just like, you know, he said we're going to get married and have kids. And I mean, he just bought me this Jaguar. I really love this Jaguar, but I'm like, I'm tired too. And I'm like, y'all ain't save no money. Like, I'm going into the deep questions, and they're like, no, there's a lot of girls all the time. Like, we're the only ones that's loyal to him. We're the only ones who stuck with him. And I'm just like, so y'all live in Vegas? They're like, yeah, we live in a really nice house in Vegas. And I'm like, so why y'all here? And then, oh, we have a little spot in Philly also. And plus, we were here because there was another girl yesterday, but she got away. And don't think about you getting away, because like I mentioned, the Asian girl was a bottom bitch. She's the one who's going to get the grunt end of it. She's going to get beat up. It was her responsibility. So she's already said, please don't leave. Don't try to run,
Because she had to pay for the other girl leaving already.
Yep. I don't know what happened to her, but I mean, I didn't see anything physical, and it might not have occurred yet. Okay. But they had took this girl to Vegas. They were telling me that they all went to Vegas. They taught her how to walk the strip, the boardwalk, and she had to turn tricks. So the whole point of the night for me wasn't just to learn how to walk and learn the language and create these bonds with these girls. It was to learn how to have dates, to turn tricks, to satisfy the Johns. So when the young lady that was in Atlantic City, apparently she had also knew this recruiter. I found that out through us talking. And in Vegas, she had to turn a trick who was an older Caucasian man. And I guess she was able to get away. Okay. But it wasn't after she did her job and got the money, because the traffickers are always nearby. It's either going to be them or the bottom girl, or it's going to be one of the security people. And she was like trying to ask that guy for help. And essentially he did. He helped her because he saw the trafficker nearby. This is what the girls were saying. And she was able to get away and get back on a bus to go wherever she was at, home.
So did you turn a trick that night?
I did not, thankfully. So I remember walking, and I was crying. Actually, I was crying because I heard the girl's story, and the Asian girl made me cry because she was telling me that she's going to have to suffer from her leaving. And I'm just looking at her like, how can I stay for your livelihood? What decision am I supposed to really make? So I remember us stopping, and I'm like, I don't need to learn how to satisfy a John. Like, I'm 23 years old. I'm not a virgin, and I'm just trying to build up my character. And I'm like crying, and I'm like telling them, I will do anything for you guys. Like, you guys are my sister. I feel sorry for y'all having to be in this life for so long, and you can't get out the life, and I want you, I'm telling the black girl, I want you to go nursing school. I want you to do all these things. And they just started crying, and they stopped, and they were like, you know what? We're tired. We haven't been to sleep. We haven't ate. We want to just rest. Are you promise us that you won't leave? And I said, I promise. Like, I will do anything. I won't leave. Like, I just don't want to do this right now. I can't do it. And if you're tired, believe me, let's just go to the room and let's just go to sleep. Call him now and tell him I learned everything. Like, I'm done. Like, because they were already walking and telling me, like, go after the white guys. They're the nicest. They won't harm you. Or, especially the unattractive ones. And they're just telling me all these tricks. And I'm just like, I don't think I need to do that. I've had enough pain in my life to know that, you don't need to do this. That's going to make me even more loyal to you. What's going to make me loyal to you right now is you believing that I'm going to try to look out for the best interests of you, So we're walking back.
That night you guys didn't have to report an income to the...
Absolutely not.
Okay.
But when she called him, she called him and she said, she knows what she's doing. We can leave for Vegas in the morning. And I felt like it was a sense of relief from him, the trafficker, because when we went back to the room, there were still the security guards, but I didn't see him. And there weren't the girls down there either.
Okay.
So maybe they did go out. I don't know. So, but when I go to the room, thank God my bag is there, because my cell phone was in my bag.
Okay.
I don't know if they searched it or they just were like, okay, well, we got the AOK call. Let's just give her back the bag, whatever. We'll be gone in the morning anyway, before she knows that these girls ain't going to go to sleep. They trust in these girls. And then when we walk into the room, they automatically just wanted to crash. They just wanted to just like go to sleep.
So they
But
were coming down from the high that they took with.
Exactly. But they kept their same attire on. And what I later find out is that they could have had to turn tricks in the hotel room. We didn't know, and they didn't know whether there was going to be a John or a buyer coming in that night, and they would have to go to work.
Okay.
So I essentially thought that I still would have to turn a trick if somebody came through for the night.
Okay.
So they were on high alert as well. Like, you know, they kept their shoes on and they were like trying to go in and out, dozing out. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to take a shower. I'm going to take a shower and I want to just blow dry my hair and flat iron it. It's in my bag. They left it, you know, they gave it to me because we had been sweating when we were walking. It was probably like late summer or early summer. And I remember because they were tired, their feet were hurting, but they didn't take off their shoes, man. You know, and I learned later on that they're also hyper vigilant. Like they have to stay ready. There's no excuses. You know, and it's sad because they looked at me like, what? You want to take the time to wash your hair? You're going to get in trouble. You know, I'm like, I'm washing my hair and I had, you know, like a lot of curly, thick hair. So I was like, it's going to take a while. All right. Y'all can go to sleep. Y'all going to hear me take a shower. You're going to hear me take, you know, blow dry my hair and I'll flat iron it. So I'm getting ready to take the shower. I'm taking my shower and they're like checking the hotel, the curtain. Like they're lifting the curtain in the shower, making sure I'm taking a shower and washing my hair. So I was like, I'm not going to be able to get out of this. Like, I'm not going to be able to get out of this. So while I'm washing my hair and they keep checking on me and I'm telling them that I'm good, go to sleep, take turns, whatever you have to do. I'm like, how am I going to get out of here? And I'm praying and I'm talking. And I remember an ex-boyfriend of mine that lived in a nearby city, a nearby town. He was at least knowledgeable of Philly, and I memorized his number.
Okay.
So even if I didn't, because like, you know, it's been a year or so, a couple of months after, I'm not gonna have his phone saved, his number saved in my phone. And it's like I didn't even have time anyway because they were checking on me every so often. So as soon as I get out and I start to blow dry my hair, I'm like, if I call him Lord, I promise you, if he answers and you send him here, I will make this a lifelong mission to not only support like just sexual assault or trafficking, but I want to embed myself in where I could also prevent it. And like just be a caregiver to, or just a mentor or a role model to these young girls, because I was feeling myself at 23, 24, you know? And I get out, I'm making a lot of noise. I pick up the phone and I dial his number and he picks up probably 1 or 2 rings. And I'm like, I got 15 minutes. I'm in this place. It's by like a closed down satellite police station. It's by a Wawa. It's about 25 minutes from the airport. There's other hotels here. Like, I just need you to be here. He's like, what? Victoria? I'm like, yes. I just need you to be here. Click. They coming into the bathroom like, you all right? Who are you talking to? I'm like, I'm just singing. You know, I'm just singing. So I had 15 minutes. In my mind, I'm like, those security guards are still outside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my bag. I'm going to try to creep out there, hold the door open, and put my bag down. If nobody's out there, I'm good. If nobody's out there after 5 minutes and sees the bag, then I'm going to just take the hell off. Because that's what that's why I told my friend who's going to come pick me up. So I put the bag down. I creep up over there. The girls have actually fallen asleep, thank the Lord. And then I looked, you know, nobody's there. I'm trying to flatten my hair, waste time. I'm checking my phone for the minutes. And I like, you know, it's like, okay, it's now or never. It's been 15 minutes. You told him 15 minutes. I just grabbed the bag. I run to the right because I saw the right and I saw something going down. So I'm like, if there's no exit at the end of these steps, then, you know, whatever. Maybe I didn't give myself to God or something enough, you know? I start to think that. So I'm running. And then all of a sudden I'm like, hey, I hear, hey, come back. Hey, what are you doing? And then I'm like bolting out. I'm running down. I see the door. I open it. He's there.
Jesus.
He is there. And I'm telling you, it was like like a light shining down. There was an aura around him. The car was still running. The window was already down. And he's literally looking at me like, Victoria. And I throw the bag in the window like it was a freaking movie. I open the door and I look back and there's 2 people there coming down from me. So I run. I'm like, just go. Let's just go. Please. And he just skirts off away. And I'm like shaking. I turn my phone off. I don't want them calling me. He's like, what do you want to do? Like, what's happening? He didn't know nothing at the time. and he didn't know anything. And I'm like, you know what? Just drive to, don't go take me to the airport, because like, what if they're at the airport? What if somebody's watching and waiting for me at the airport? He's like, who's watching you? So then he says, you know what if people are following us? So let's just go to like a police station. I'm like, no, I don't know for the life of me why I just said no to the police. I was experiencing shame and guilt. No lie. I just was like, nobody's gonna believe my story. This gotta sound made up. Just take me somewhere where it's safe, and maybe we could just wait till a couple of hours, let this die down, and then I can get on my flight. And then maybe you could buy the ticket and I'll just give you the money. He's like, whatever you need me to do. No questions asked, girl. Let's just go. We drove to like a lit parking lot. I think it was like a nearby shopping mall. And there was a security guard driving around, and we pulled up and we're like, dude, can we park here? And I said, it's like life or death. I'm just going to be gone for I'm just going to be here for like 2-3 hours. And then I promise you, like, we're going to be out our way. He's like, no, it's fine. I'll stay right here. Y'all sure y'all want to call the cops? And I'm just like, no. I didn't tell my friend nothing. He didn't ask me any more questions. I'm crying. I'm shaking. I'm thinking.
You didn't even share with him what happened?
Even to this day, until my podcast was released, he listened to my story.
And he recalled that night.
And the episode is actually released now on his side of the story. His name is Jake.
Okay. So
Yep.
Jake was your guardian angel that night.
Jake was my guardian angel. And even to this day, when you listen to his episode, he has the power of protection, he said, in him. And he only knew a few things. One, a friend is calling. I sounded a little distressed over the phone. And he said, I just have to get there. And if I only had 10 minutes, I was going to do whatever he needed. He said he's going to do whatever he needed to do to get there in 10 minutes.
Look at God.
Look at
so
God.
You sit in the parking lot for a few hours, and then Jake, I presume, takes you back to the airport, and you get on the flight and you return back home to Miami. Do you ever at any point reach out to the associate that contacted you to give you the gig?
Absolutely not. I wanted to erase his freaking image. I definitely pushed this back all the way far deep into the back of my mind. Like, I didn't.
He never reached out to you.
Never reached out to me. Never. I think I remember Googling phone numbers later on, and like they were like not in service or whatever. And like, I didn't even know where he lived. Thank God he didn't know where I lived. He just knew I was in Miami, not what part. And I never saw his pictures surface either. Not through all these years, all these social media. I've never seen I don't even remember his last name, but I remember his, different characteristics about him.
Okay. So when you got back to Miami, and you said at the time you were living with your aunt and uncle, even with them, you didn't feel safe enough to be vulnerable enough to share your experience.
No. And this is my aunt who is working in internal affairs with the correctional officer unit or division in Miami. And then my uncle was Miami PD. He was with Miami PD. So I thought, and I didn't tell my father either, or my mom. I thought that they were just going, what? Let's go find these people in Philly. Let's just go make this whole big thing. And I just felt so ashamed and guilty to have taken off, not have went to the police, to have told them. So now I'm already backtracking in this guilt of mine to be like, it's too late. And it only had been a couple of months. And I remember like my mom recently is getting the bigger picture of the story too, because she remembers when I went back to Miami, like I was just still in the nightlife. Like I was still doing castings. Like I was still like feeling like I was untouchable. Like I didn't learn a lesson. And I actually had another trafficking scare where I was pulled over with a friend, he wasn't even my friend. We were doing another casting and he was one of the promoters for that night. And he asked me to go ride with him in my car to go from one club to the other club. It was like an after party. And I had got pulled over. I guess I didn't turn the signal or whatever. And he ended up being like very irate because the officers were like asking him for his ID. And I'm like, okay, well, it's fine. I'm the driver. Just give him your ID. Like I have my insurance, registration, everything's fine. And then the officer tells me to get out. And he's like, and this is 2005. He's like, we're getting a lot of trafficking situations coming up. You're a very young girl. He looks a little bit suspicious, which I didn't know at the time what suspicious looks like, right? He might have fit the profile of what a pimp looks like. He did have dreads. He was, African American. Actually, he was black, like African. I think it's from Nigeria.
Okay.
And he was resisting to getting out and giving his identification. So I said, okay, well, you got me shook. I'm gonna go home. Like, get him out of my car. Like, you know what I mean? I really don't know him. I knew him through people that I was with at this club. And then when they actually got his ID, it was a fake ID. And then he not only gave them a fake ID, he actually gave them his brother. He gave him the brother's information, and his brother also had a warrant out on his arrest. So why would you give him that? But anyway, they arrested him. And they're like, man, we just saved you, because there's no reason why, this guy is here under all these false pretenses. And I'm like, okay. And I started to just learn so much more about trafficking. But
so that made you start to do a research on human trafficking, but yet still you weren't willing to expose yourself in what you had experienced. Absolutely. Because you were too afraid that maybe people wouldn't believe you, or they would say, how could you be so naive and so stupid? Or it was too difficult to comprehend. So you probably just tried to bury it as if it did not happen, and tried to go back to life as being as normal. And if I continued to do the things that I was doing before this happened, no one would even question me or ask me if something had actually occurred.
Absolutely. And you are right 100%. And I actually think 15 years later, I'm able to have a complete recollection. I think that I was in so much still anxious times where there were a lot of different things that reminded me of that trigger, like it was a trigger for me, and I would just push it back further. I'm like, no, like even like.
So what was it? What occurred that made you want to now publicly tell your story?
So So I have been working at a shelter for minors that are involved in sex trafficking. It is the only specific shelter here on Hawaii. And it pains me of the stuff that they disclosed to me, because they weren't able to get away from it. Okay. And the more I'm in this light of how I got away, it does burden me, and I weigh it heavy on my heart that I got away and they didn't. And when I'm in this field, the majority of the people that are like the funders and the advocates and the higher ups that are able to even establish these kind of shelters and stuff, they're Caucasian women. Okay. I don't relate to them. Most of my kids that I've been through all these years do not relate to them. And I don't feel like I've ever been in a place that's been more empowering to tell these girls that I know what they're talking about. Okay. And so I started
the love for the young ladies that you are now having to work with. You feel free enough now to be an advocate for them, because it's now not about you anymore. Like, you have taken this that has happened to you, and you realize that it's so much bigger than you. And that if you don't use the platform that you've been afforded, like, you would be doing these young ladies that you say you care so deeply for a disservice.
A disservice. And when I go back on that and I think about it, it's like they do, and I didn't want to not tell anybody my story, but I also wanted to tell people who understood me. And maybe that was my hindrance too.
And you needed that comfort.
And I needed that comfort to know.
And maybe that came because you worked with ladies and you saw how they felt. So because you were able to relate to them, even though they didn't know that you had some of the same challenges, not just as deeply, but because you understood. And then it made you more aware, like, oh my God, like, God spared me. Like, I could have been them. This situation could have been the reverse. Like, I could have needed someone to uplift me, to keep me up, to try to get the negative thoughts that were in my mind, the abuse that I've experienced with my body in such a tender young age. And like, why did God let me go free?
Yep.
And so now you've been passed the torch of the responsibility.
Yes.
To add a voice, so that it is someone that looks like me. No, it doesn't just happen to them, because they view me as being beautiful too. They view me as being a moneymaker too. So now I don't have to have that guilt and shame. I just have to be more educated. I have to be wise with my decisions on who I hang out with, who I expose to me, who I allow to see with me. I have to be careful what I put on social media, because yes, it's a great tool in a lot of ways, but for a person that's a recruiter, you're giving them the information in order to take advantage of you and make you miss out on life, or the life that you should have lived, because you got in the trap of sex trafficking.
Exactly.
So that's what your roadmap journey has now become.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So tell us some of the ways that people could get in touch with you.
Yes.
Because now that you've added a voice, and you have some young girls that are watching you, and so not only have you added a voice, now you're giving hope. Yes. And now we have to create places where they can then have a platform to share their stories, to know that they are valuable, that life can be better. And yes, this may have happened to you, but it's not who you are. And so as a result of that, I guess that's what birthed your podcast. And what exactly is that? Tell us, share.
You are 100% on it. And that's just why I love your energy. I just love you so much. Like, this is exactly why I wanted to not only put a podcast out to just be able to like not have to repeat the story all the time, but I feel so free every time that it is heard, because not only are these individuals believing me, they're checking on me. You know how it feels to have that genuine love, like, oh my God, Vic, I didn't know that happened to you. I want to be there. How can I help you? How can I support you? And now I feel in that moment of my life where I'm not like, oh, I don't want to burden you with that. Or no. I'm like, yes. How about, you tell everyone. I've had the podcast. The title is Unseen, The Traffic Truth.
Okay.
It's available on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and I really want to use that platform for other survivors to tell their story.
So give us your
Yes.
contact information, because we never know who's out there that may have
Absolutely.
a story, or you never know who's out there that's willing to give some resources to help in this cause. Because even though you're giving out words of wisdom and you're showing people that you can survive, it takes resources to help young people, to educate them, so in order for them to get a job, to deal with the anxiety and the fear that they have to go through to be able to trust again. And that is not free. So I understand that. So there may be someone out there that's saying, hey, I know that, or someone in my life experienced that, and I'm doing everything, and I have some resources that I'm willing to partner with you to help to bring Unseen globally.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Please contact me at my Gmail. It is unseenttpodcast@gmail.com. And the TTT is for the Traffic Truth. I'm on Instagram as well, Unseen TTT Podcast. And you can DM me, email me. I am not all like not wanting to talk to everybody. I want to talk to every single person right now who's not only willing to just make that connection of resources or make that connection to a survivor story through the podcast, but I want to be able to have a young girl or young man or even a survivor themselves just come talk to me. Let's just have conversational. I even want people to just like be a guest on the podcast, sort of like, what you're doing. I want people to just be like, can I just speak to the world about something that
affected me?
It just affected me. I do want this to be the traffic truth about the sex trafficking, because everybody's not aware. Like you said, they really don't know. I need resources to be able to put it out there. I could do direct all day. I could directly work with survivors at a shelter. I can directly do outreach, but globally with voices, it's so much more impactful.
Yes. And I believe that you are going to get that task accomplished. Well, Vicki, we appreciate you coming on Lessons Learned by Lisa. It has been an awesome time with us sharing your experience. I'm glad that your frown and your tears have become a smile, that you understand that education is so important and being vulnerable is not a curse, it is a gift. And so we are just going to pray that God continues to bless you, that his favor shines on you, and that every child, woman, boy, girl, whoever it is that you touch, that they're able to become free, that they can walk in the light that God intended for them to live. And we just appreciate you. And we just never know. There could be a part two. We could have some of your survivors come on with you, sharing the details on how the connection and the partnership made life a whole lot better. So I appreciate you, and I want you to know I love you real hard. Thank you for joining us tonight, and we look forward to seeing you on our next episode of Lessons Learned by Lisa. Good night.
Thank you.